came in the office, in the 216 is when I get a little bit into the politics. It's
Uh,
when, all the things he's been saying about immigrants and,
yeah.
more about my country. I'm from Mexico.
Uh-huh.
And when he say we are bad people, it's when I start with that.
Yes.
Not involved more with politics. And
Mhm.
that's how I met Luz. And now with everything is going on in this country with us, it's like I have to fight. I have to do something. And every day I'm really into mostly TikTok, trying to, do whatever I can so I can, you know,
Yeah, right.
make my voice for the people who doesn't have voice.
Yes. Excellent. Yeah, we all have to step up. That's it.
Yeah. In the office. In the
Yeah, the
and
only
and
it,
Luz makeup really, really. I love Luz because she is one of the really fight. She always fighting for us, always fighting with us, and I'm with her, and that's how I'm, with Luz and with her, you know, program. Then
And that's how we met.
yes.
And Patricia, and welcome to YouTube to our live stream. We welcome Mishu. Mishu, welcome.
thank you.
And we have Ana Patricia from our program, The Huella Sin Huella, A con la conciencia vendada, which means that the blinded conscious. Bienvenida, Patricia. Welcome, Patricia.
Hi, how are you, everybody?
Pues we are here, we invited, and we are pleased and honored to have Mishu. Mishu Louis, gracias. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. It's an honor for us to speak with you. We know you're very busy. So just having this time, plus the time issues, the zones that we're in doesn't help us much. So I thank you so much for making the time to be with us today.
Thank you. I'm in Hawaii, so I'm 5 hours earlier than you in the Eastern time.
So it is a morning for you.
Yes.
So let me introduce or talk a little bit about Mishu with her sending me her bio. Um, Mishu, it is a woman that has dedicated her life to construct the bridges of solidarity between Mexico and United States. That's how I perceive you, Mishu. Um, but today, and we welcome you today, where we have so many things and issues going on in the political world in the United States and also in Mexico. So many challenges, so much persecution for migrants that, in the first place, are forced to, like the word says, to be displaced, that sometimes in our meetings we discuss things of not calling ourselves migrants again, because migration is when you choose in a way to be somewhere or looking like we always say no for a better life,
Yes.
and things like that, and of course we agreed on that. But at the same time the discussion goes to we are displaced, we just don't leave everything behind to go and explore another world, explore another country, living our careers, living our opportunities that we probably work hard of, or of in the case where we bring or come with our children, where the children's face and endure these times, because it is hard to be just grab your things and go. And then they leave everything behind as well. Sometimes it's so hard, at least in my experience. Sometimes I wish, like many people, to have friends since childhood. Just those conversations where people get together and enjoy those conversations or reunions, because I find out that they're no longer here. Even they already passed away, or we just they also move and then we don't connect anymore. So it is a hard thing. Um, so again, welcome, and I know you do a lot of work with, and you're the coordinator of the Mexico Solidarity Project. Um, can we start talking a little bit about this, probably with the base and the interest of what probably would like for us to have in the discussion?
Let me start with a little bit of my own history because my parents were migrants as well. And I don't know whether people know a lot about the history of Chinese in the United States. But at first, the farmers and the railroad people needed labor, so they recruited people from China, just as they are now recruiting people and have been for some time recruiting people from Mexico. But at a certain point, there was a downturn in the economy. And so the United States didn't want the Chinese anymore. So they started to pass laws against us. For example, they said no women could come. So if you can't bring your wife and family, you are not going to want to stay in the country forever. So that was their way of saying, we don't want Chinese here permanently. We just want you as temporary labor. And again, that's so similar to how they're treating Mexicans and other migrant workers today. But it got to the point in the 1882, they passed a law that said no Chinese could come in, no Chinese laborers could come in at all. If you were a merchant, okay, or a student, not that there were very many of them at that time. This was, back in the 1800s. But if you were labor, you could no longer come. So again, it's kind of funny, but in order to get in, there were some Chinese who came through Mexico and they disguised themselves as Mexicans. And because you know what, Mexicans and Chinese look more alike than we both look like white people. So that was an interesting way that they snuck into the United States. But mostly they were deported or they left or whatever. So for a long time, there really were not very many Chinese in the United States at all. So in some ways, as a Chinese American, I share some of the same history that you're going through now. This country has never really welcomed immigrants from countries that were not European, that were not white. And unfortunately, we're seeing that again today, very strong with President Trump. He's really clear that he thinks that the United States should be a white country. So, so that's partly, the reason why I've always been interested in the situation of people within the United States who are migrants or who are from other places in the world, and they come here and they face discrimination and hardship, and attacks, even physical attacks, which happened to the Chinese too. Lots of people were murdered, and nothing was done to the people who killed them. When they were trying to open their own mines, for example, there was a gold rush, and some of the white settlers, because they were also migrants, they just stole the mines of the Chinese people, and they got away with it. So anyway, that's how I became a person that was very interested in kind of fixing these things. Like this country should not be so unequal. It should not be treating people who are not white the way that they have been treated. So all my life I've been fighting against that kind of racism. So in 2019 is when we got the Mexico Solidarity Project started. And Maria Elena, it started because some of us who have been part of social movements trying to fight for more justice for people, working people especially, we realized that people in the United States know nothing about Mexico. And they don't know anything about Mexicans in the United States either, unless they happen to live in one of the communities and somehow get to know people. Like when I was in school as a kid, I didn't learn anything about Mexico. Maybe I learned that we had a war and we got some of their land, but there was nothing really that went into it deeply that explained. Certainly, it didn't say that the United States was wrong to attack Mexico and grab all that land. Nobody ever said that. I think it's kind of a shameful part of US history. So, like so many things, it just got covered up. So, when I was in school, and I don't know if your kids too, the same thing might be true. You learn more about Europe, you learn more about France, which we don't have anything to do with, and yet Mexico is right there.
It's the
Um,
neighbor.
it's the neighbor. But I like to say it's not just a neighbor. It's like our half brother or half sister, because after that war, almost a third or almost a half of Mexico got annexed into the United States. But it was not just the land, the people were still on it too. And many of the people living in those states, Colorado, California, New Mexico, or Arizona, Texas, they're all maybe still a lot of the descendants of those people who were always on the land. But there were many ways that the land got taken away from the Mexican people who owned it. For example, the use of language. And again, these are not, this has been going on for a long time. So if you had a paper and it was in English and you didn't speak English, how were you going to know what you were signing? And so there were a
Right?
lot of corrupt people who were lawyers or whatever, and they'd say, just put your X here. And then all of a sudden, you didn't own your land anymore. So that was just a way that was taken away. The other thing is that in Mexico, if you were a woman, you could own property. And in the United States, you couldn't. Women were not allowed to own property. So Mexico, I like to say, was ahead of the United States in many ways for a long, long time. But then once those parts of Mexico became part of the United States, the women again were not allowed to keep owning their property. And unfortunately, many of them married Anglo men, and then gradually it all became just Anglo land. So anyway, in 2019, AMLO was elected president in 2018, and we saw a new opportunity and a new reason to be more in solidarity with the Mexican people, because now it seemed like they had a chance finally to get rid of the corruption and the rule of the just very wealthy. Low promised that he would lift up the poor. So for those of us who were progressive, we thought, wow, this is a good opportunity for us to support Mexico and to get to know the people of Mexico better and to bring better information to people within the United States. So that was our first goal, was to really bring information, solid, real information from the Mexican point of view, not from the point of view of US media, and also some of the Mexican media like Telesur that's owned by really, really wealthy, corrupt people. They were anti-AMLO. So we wanted to bring good information to the people. And I think that's what you're doing right now too, Maria Elena. You want people to know good information, what's really going on, and what can you do? What are your resources, right?
Yes, and especially like to say what probably others can't say because they're tied up to whatever. Because when you're a reporter, even we have seen the cases where we send the cases of people that needs to be visualized, but again, they are tied up to whom they are showing, whom they talk to, and if the producer really it's what's looking for. But again, they are the ones who are controlling the narrative and the media overall. So we're still doing that, but at the same time on our end with Luces and Sombras Migrantes, we're still fighting for that to have the truth to be out and and spoke about the human rights and what people in power tend to forget.
Mhm. Well, I think too, it's a little dangerous sometimes with the media, even the media that wants to visibilize the people here who are being persecuted. because that way sometimes even the Americans who mean well, they just see Mexicans and migrants as victims, and they're more than victims. In
Of
fact, your own story, Maria Elena, you know, the way that you fought, the way that you built a life for yourself, those stories are really just powerful stories. And I think too, like the attitude, even of, like I say, even of good people who mean well, they think that they need to help Mexico and Mexicans. No, Mexico has a lot to teach us, and the migrants have done so much, as you know, to build the economy, not just of this country, but Mexico too. So they're a very important part of the economies of both countries.
Yeah, and Ana Patricia, feel free to jump in whenever, okay? Um,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
it, yes, and you know what? Sometimes I feel like as as migrants that we chose to, we start to appreciate more what we have left, because we're missing it. Like I said at the beginning when we started the streaming, um, we have this feeling that we missed our old friends, that we missed all this. But then we started seeing how the economics works a little bit different than when we were there as well. Because
Hmm.
the because again, we would just have access to the information that the media allow us to have.
Hmm.
And then thank God for the internet. No, I remember when I was younger and I was working and how we started using computers and stuff, but it was so hard. It was so hard for news media or investigated um, uh, news or reporters, investigative reporters to bring out all the info they had. I still remember that there were some writers that choose to write or tell us the story without compromising the safe and the well-being of themselves and tell us through the story. I remember finding myself, which is not Mexican, but I remember the impact that they did. Um, like Isabel Allende, for example, or Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Um, when I didn't know nothing about the challenges outside of Mexico, and I was very young, and was when I started reading their books and stuff, the same way that I was reading the people who made like um histories in Mexico, how they wrote their paragraphs and on a sometimes on the newspaper back then, and I used to read them and see it was not a direct voice. It was not a direct loud voice against the system because probably they were more limited.
Hmm.
Um, but through the stories, just saying how they did it, I was able to recognize that it was injustice, that something needed to be done, that what I was seeing as a young girl, because I was very young, it was not something that I was making that up on myself. I had a very political mother figure in my family. My mother was very, very um, active in the political world in Mexico. Of course, she was from the PRI. Of course, she was from the PRI, so she was a very like um, the CTM, which still exists, I believe, and they're still powerful in some sense. And she was very involved on that, but I never liked it because I used to write to read all these stories that I'm talking about, and I was like, no, there's something more. And my brother, he was from the PAN, and again, it just never add up
Wow.
to the things that I was reading and seeing out with my own eyes. So
Right.
I'm glad you guys did that project.
Well, I think if you join the PRI or the PUN, It was partly because that was a way for you personally to get ahead because there was so much corruption and so on, with the unions too. They were making deals with the companies and screwing the workers, and yet they were supposed to be representing the workers. But some of those union leaders, of course, they got rich because they were the ones who were controlling the dollars that the workers had to pay in union dues. A lot of times we found that the people didn't even know they had a union. Yeah, there was so much corruption there. So I think that your point of view and mine and Patricia, I'm sure, is to think about how we all can do better, not just us personally, right? Of course, we want to have a decent life ourselves, but we want to have a decent life for everybody. There was a leader of the Socialist Party in the United States many years ago in the 1910s or 20s, and he said, "I don't want to rise from the masses. I want to rise with the masses." And I think that's just a great quote. It's not just for yourself. You want to fight for everybody. And I know that's what you do in your organization. I think you're on mute, Maria Elena.
Oh, I thought I mute myself. I wanna rise with the masses. I don't believe I believe in equality more than
Yeah.
anything. Um and that's what I said, the work that you guys do. When I met you through I remember the phone call after were we were in the making the forums for what later or what we now know as the movement for the people's movement for peace and justice, because that's always what it drives. I mean, for me, that's what I'm seeking
Mhm.
to have um in this life, not just the country. I wish that peace and justice, we don't need to disagree. It is something that, in my opinion, is a human right. We don't need to have any type of feelings of uncertain. So,
Fear. I mean, that's the thing right now with Trump. He's the opposite. He doesn't want peace. He wants war, and he's going to make war. And I think it's partly he makes war in order to line his own pocket, like in Venezuela. He said he's going to control all of the money that comes from oil. He's going to take the oil and he's going to personally control that money. So, and if he has to make war to do it, and he already, like in Venezuela, he already killed what, almost, I think I've heard now maybe 100 people in that attack. He doesn't care. And all the boats that he shot down, and we don't even know whether those people had drugs on their boats or not because he destroyed the boats. So there's no evidence. So I think, yeah, what we're fighting now is just the opposite of what you said, peace and justice. He's war and injustice. So I think, Patricia, maybe you could jump in because you said you got involved with the first time Trump got elected. So,
Exactly. And really, I'm really afraid because now his next, what he said, his next point is going to Mexico and fight the cartels. And I, I really upset when I hear yesterday because he was talking yesterday on TV about that. And I'm like, now he's going, you know,
yeah,
with Mexico. And did we want that? No. Do I want? I don't know. I really, honestly, if I have to fight for my country, I go and fight.
yeah. When did you come to the United States, Patricia?
I came in 1988.
Mhm.
I'm, yeah, 37 years here. I'm married. I studied in Mexico. I was working in IBM. Okay, and they sent me to United States to learn English because I need to, the company need me to learn English. So I met my husband,
Uh-huh.
and that's how my husband is white. And I met my husband, and I went back to Mexico, and we were dating for 2 years. And after 2 years, you know, I came to this. I married and I came to this country.
I see. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Right. Well, the threats to go attack Mexico to take out the cartel leaders, that was tried already. The war on drugs. Which president was it? Was it Cedillo? I can't remember. But
No,
oh, who was
I
it?
forgot, how can I forget his name?
It was,
Um, before, after Cedillo?
it was in
Oh,
it was
after
Oh,
who?
it was Salinas de Gortari who made the
Salinas de
war?
Gortari. Yeah.
No,
No, no, no.
no, wasn't
Fel-
him. Felipe
Felipe
Calderon.
Calderon. Yeah, Felipe
yeah.
Calderon.
Well,
Yes.
anyway, they tried that. The war on drugs was supposed to be using the military to take out the cartels. Well, it just got worse. The drug use did not go down in the United States, and what it did was it brought a lot of guns into Mexico. And so some of the violence that we see now, I was talking to Diego, and he said, he first left Mexico for the United States for economic reasons, but the second or third time when he came, it was because of the violence.
Mm-hmm.
And that violence,
Yeah.
yeah, Patricia, sorry, did you want to say something? Yeah. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I use a strategy that has already been proven to
Oh,
fail.
I'm so sorry. My phone, I couldn't, I was trying to,
To
because I
unmute.
put the microphone off and I was trying to get into the again. Oh,
Yeah. Did you have something to say about taking the cartels out with the military?
just, I'm just really afraid of, I don't know. I hear that the Senate say they stop him to use the military. They're not, they're not going to. The military is not going to listen to Trump. That's what I hear, but I don't know. I'm afraid.
Yeah. Because Trump doesn't listen. Even if the legislature passes a law, he doesn't seem to care. He just does whatever he wants. So that is very scary. I was going to say also when the United States brought the Chapito, the brothers, to the United States, what
Mm-hmm.
did Mexico? It created more violence because then with the cartels, then you have another fight between the different factions as who's going to become the leader. So there's more bloodshed that way. So even when they try to take out one, it's like a snake. You cut off the head and then it grows two, and then you cut again, and then there's four. And that's really what's happened with the cartels in Mexico. There's just more and more, you cause more and more problems. I thought that I like both AMLO and and Claudia Scheinbaum, because AMLO said we need hugs, not bullets, to help the young people avoid becoming drug dealers. If we give them a job, if we give them training, they'll be less likely to fall into the hands of the cartels. Well, that's not completely true because the cartels use a lot of violence and force for these poor young people. But I think both Claudia and AMLO knew that they have to build the economy and make it more, more opportunity for young people so that drugs do not become the main way of making a living.
Yeah.
Also what he did, okay, he's against, he say, drugs, and he pardoned a president who was involved into that. So I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that is so true. Hernandez, who was the president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug dealer.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was supposed to serve 40 years, and then Trump just pardoned him. So is his goal really anything to do with stopping drugs? Or is it just an excuse? The people that he likes, he just pardons. Yeah, yeah.
See what that
And now he's accusing Maduro of being a drug dealer. Well, and then the question is, maybe, maybe not, but but still, that doesn't give the United States a right to go and kidnap him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
You know what? On that on that regards, for example, it is so many conflictive messages that this administration does. You know,
mhm,
they say one thing and do another, and there's really no rule of law at all,
mhm,
contrary to what the people on their MAGA movement thinks or wants to believe,
yeah,
which sometimes is hard for me to understand. You know, it's hard because for me it's just like very clear, and but they have divided us so much as a Latinos, especially with what they did in Venezuela, because when we condemned what happened in Venezuela, the same brothers and sisters that we are from Venezuela, because I honestly think that we are all the same for some reason, and it just divided us
mhm,
more than united us.
mhm,
Because it seems like a lot of them, I'm not saying the majority, because I don't have no indication of what percentage of people really are for this. But with a lot of them are really are having we are having trouble communicating ourselves, or or just making sure that we understand the struggle. We have the same fight, probably just on a different region,
mhm,
you know, against the violence and against, I mean, corrupted systems. But at the same time, that we don't agree that another country can go and just kill your people, your own people, just to destroy infrastructure that costs thousands of dollars. For example, I was really briefly reading yesterday about how thousands of kids cannot receive um, their uh, health checkups and medicine that they need, like for the kidneys and stuff. So for me, it's really hard to resignate when they're okay with that.
mhm. Well, I think, a lot of Venezuelans, especially here, because some of them left because they didn't like Maduro, right? So I don't think it's up to us to defend Maduro, but it is up to us to still say, no matter what you thought of him, you like him, you didn't like him, it's still wrong for the United States to act like it has a right to go anywhere and just grab a president and arrest them, uh, while killing a lot of, like you said, innocent citizens in their homes and on the street. No, we can't agree with that. Yeah.
Mhm. Someone that is commenting here, it says the worst part is that they are wasting the money that can be used for that and use it for luxury.
Yes, thank you. That's a great comment. And I think that part of the reason for this attack is that because people in the United States are starting to feel like their own living situation is worse, that the cost of groceries and everything has gone up. They can't pay the rent, they can't own a home. They're getting mad about that and they're starting to blame Trump. So he's trying to distract us. He's trying to create something else that he hopes people will unite around. Like if he shows, oh, how strong the United States is by this military move, then everybody will flock over and support him again. I don't think that's happening, but I think that's part of his goal. And you're absolutely right. All the money we spend on the military could be used for programs at home. But he's not using it. Even if he had all the money, he wouldn't use it for programs at home. He just uses it to make his own company and his family and his friends richer and richer.
Mhm.
How many trillions do you need?
Well, just the recent yeah, things that had happened, you know, the killing of Renee, which I had a friend that says, yeah, why we making so much noise for Renee? Why are we making, because last year there's some organizations and like organization like myself, we're counting the people that have died. under ICE custody or as a of killed, like the guy in California, Jaime from Caramillo, California, the other guy from Chicago, and so on, where some of us just have documented probably 32 or around 32 people that have died
Uh-huh.
under ICE.
Mhm.
And also, I believe there was two people yesterday, Venezuelans, who died
Mm.
yesterday in Seattle.
In
Oh,
I don't
Portland,
know if that
Oregon.
was, yeah, something, yeah, that's what I hear today.
oh, I missed.
So
Mm.
it's, I don't know. Really upset, and
Yeah.
what
Well,
he's doing with this country, and with us.
mhm. You know, a lot of people, including Latinos, they supported Trump's when he promised to get rid of the criminals uh, who were migrants. But that's not what he's doing. And I think that as he kills more people who are not criminals, or they just have a minor thing like, drunk driving or something like that, long time ago, and they've been working ever since and a good citizen. More people are turning against it. And I think that if people say, why Renee? If her life can be used as a symbol of what's wrong and can get more people involved in fighting Trump, who are we to complain? I mean,
Right. No, no, I understand. And me as Mexican, we spoke of others, of the others that have died under the hands of ICE.
yes.
We have done it. We raised our voice. We raised our concerns. We scream our guts out.
Hmm.
But Renee is a little bit different because Renee is one of our people with some privileges that are allied with us.
That's right.
Where she understood, I didn't know that she even had some videos in support of us, like saying it and stuff.
Mm.
So for me, it makes sense, the outrage, because that is bringing people the attention of what's happening.
Hmm.
Because now it's not the migrant or how they like give us the name of illegal migrant,
Hmm.
even if the people is US citizens, just because they look brown like me or because they have an accent when they speak. They don't care.
Yeah.
No, they don't care. So Renee is one of our allies. It was one of our allies, and she was just, she voiced it.
Hmm.
And so for me it makes sense because
Hmm.
brings the attention to probably a part of the community that just the headlines ringed and probably they were not okay. I'm not saying they were okay, of course not. But it was just, oh, an illegal migrant, oh, a
Yeah.
criminal, because they made up the crimes. People without crimes, all of the sudden, the DHS put up crimes on their name.
Yeah.
Or a DUI that they had 20, 30 years ago.
They
Like
were.
we had a case where it was yeah, it was a DUI
Hmm.
from a guy 40 years ago.
Yeah. Who hasn't had a DUI? My son had a DUI when he was 20. It happens all the time.
Yeah, well, I don't because I don't drink, right?
No, I
But
haven't.
But
Yeah.
it's true. I think it's this.
but
What
but
happened is putting more attention into now into us and people. What I see in this, because now it's in the news. Now and all the news are making. Now they trying to say how Trump is doing with us, how he treat us the Spanish people, how we, before was not in the news talking too much about us, and now I see more and more. In like Lucy, I think this is probably it's sad what happened, really sad what happened, but now I think people are going to open their eyes, about
Even
what Trump is doing with us because he's doing a lot of bad stuff. Because yesterday I saw on TV they were talking about the detention, how Trump, how those people treat immigrants. So I said, oh, before they didn't say anything. So
and if he shot somebody who was Mexican, even if they were not a criminal, we wouldn't see the same news attention as a white woman. So in a way, yeah, if you look at the demonstrations, anti-ICE demonstrations, it's mostly white people, and that's a good thing. I mean, because
Mhm,
if you're a person of color, you're more likely to get arrested, first of all, just by being at a demonstration. But I think it just visually, when people see those demonstrations, and they see, wow, it's not just the migrants or the people of color who are fighting. It's everybody. It's like so many white people are against this too, and that's really good because we need to build a broad front of people who are opposed to the way ICE is being used to divide our communities.
mhm. Yeah, we need to strengthen that ties with as a whole because it affects us all. Um, and one thing, bringing back the work that you do and myself and all this, I have seen. I don't know if it happens or if you guys have noticed or some of your allies noticed, but like when we started, a big part of our work used to be labor rights, um, labor trafficking, all that about work. That was on top of our list. It was the most cases we did, most work overall.
Mhm.
But I have noticed that now that not only they have going to the workplaces and taking them, but also the ones that are staying, they are reporting abuses more than before. But guess what? They don't like to proceed.
Mm.
They don't want to, I mean, they report it to us because they trust us and they want us to know that they are stealing more money from their works, like they don't pay them what they should get paid, that they are more like harassed that they should, all that. But when we're like, okay, can we bring this to the authorities? They are not willing to do that because of the environment. Have you noticed something like that?
Are these H-2A workers?
Not
Agricultural?
not only H2A workers, but regular workers. Like some people from restaurants and other ones that work on the nurseries and stuff, that they're not exactly H2As.
I
The
see.
H2A workers don't want to talk at all.
I see. Yeah. Well, right. Um, well, no, we haven't noticed it. And let me just say that that's one of the weaknesses of our work is that we have not so far, and it's one of our goals for 2026. And I want to work more closely with you, Maria Elena, is to get deeper into the migrant communities. Our goal this year is to build several chapters of the Mexico Solidarity Project in places where we do have connections to the migrant community, but they would be not just a migrant organization, would not be a Morena organization, but it would be an organization of all those who support Mexicans and Mexico, whether we're talking about in Mexico or in the United States or whatever. And I think that that's one of the things I've learned from Diego, and I hope that Diego Torres, who has had a project that Maria Elena and I have been part of, who's really bringing a focus on migrants. He says, whatever issue there is in Mexico or the US, we should always be asking, well, what about the migrants? What is their role in this?
Mhm,
And I think that's really great. Whether you talk about healthcare or labor rights or public education, whatever it is, what is the impact on migrants. I think that's an important thing that he's doing. I think what we've done more in terms of labor, we do have a labor committee that is composed of people both who are trying to organize or have organized independent unions in Mexico who are not part of the Charo, the old corrupt system.
Mhm,
But they've had a very hard time and have often had to use the USMCA, the mechanism in there where workers can complain directly to the US Department of Labor, which strangely enough has been very positive and supportive of Mexican workers. But if Mexican workers in Mexico can get better wages and working conditions, then as the economy of Mexico grows, it will be less imperative for Mexicans to leave and try to
mhm,
get jobs in the United States. So, the stronger Mexico is, the stronger their own labor rights, the stronger their economy, the more job opportunities they have, the better off migrants will be because the people then, if there's a smaller trickle of people coming, oh, the United States is going to have to treat them better because they need them,
mhm.
right? Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. That's why when we started doing this alliance and our communication project that we have going on, that's one of our that's one of our concerns. We need to strengthen that, and the matter of fact, uh, uh, we submitted a proposal that we write about that specifically on. Not only because, I have noticed that in Mexico they talk a lot about mobility, for Mexicans, and I have been very tough, I guess, I believe, I don't know, because sometimes when we have meetings and stuff, I do told them right in their face, I'm too strong. Probably it's too strong, but I will repeat it. I have told them that they just become the human traffickers, but legally because they are the ones who ruling. I know it's hard. I know my words are too strong. I understand that, but I wanted to make sure that Mexico has a strong labor laws and
Mhm.
also strong infrastructure so people don't have to go. We also have to work on our um safety, like on the violence. It needs to be controlled because that's part of why people leave their place. So I put up a proposal about that, but also to strengthen the rural communities with business, small business growth and stuff, because I really believe that that can be the key to stop this displacement.
We did an interview with Rocio Mejia. She is the head of Fina Bien. The it's a department within the Mexican government that aims to help small businesses, like you're saying, Maria Elena. So, for example, she was saying that many people have a tiny business, less than 10 employees, and sometimes they just need a little bit of money, like maybe for a new sewing machine or a new oven or something like that in order to grow their business. And Fina Bien gives those tiny loans, micro loans, for no interest because before you couldn't get a loan. The banks weren't interested in such a tiny amount of money. And if you did borrow, then it had to be from a private lender and they would charge like 100% interest. So that kind of thing is good. I was thinking too, like with the H-2A program, both the Republicans and the Democrats supported that program and expanding that program as a way to bring in people legally, but completely exploiting people. Well, I think on the United States side, we need to do what we can to overturn that system and find a different way so that workers in agriculture don't have to work only for one employee and promise never to leave that employer because that opens up that exploitation, as you know. But in Mexico, they could set up a public recruiting process so that you would eliminate those very corrupt recruiters that you've talked about, Maria Elena, who cause those workers to break the law sometimes by overstaying and so on, or they get them another job under the table. They're not going to get hurt, but those workers who are being forced to do something illegal can get hurt. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think, we need to be creative to think about what are the ways that we can improve the situation without the USMCA, because we're not going to go anywhere there. I wish we would.
Exactly. But talking about that, it brings me to also touch the point of Donald Trump recently just reduced the salary, the pay by the hour for
Mhm.
the workers that comes with the H2A.
Yeah.
So,
Crazy. Yep. When everything's going up.
mhm. And the exploitation and stuff. So I guess we need to keep fighting. I know we have the hour and we have to let you go. But I appreciate you being here. You're welcome anytime. Um,
I just wanted to make one more
mhm,
point. And to just give an example of the cross-border solidarity that is so important. So with our labor committee, we were supporting workers from VU Manufacturing. It's a group of workers that makes upholstery for cars. Well,
mhm,
they formed an independent democratic union, but instead of recognize it, and they went through the legal process with the Department of Labor and the Mexican Department of Labor, who all agreed with them that they had a right to organize and that VU was interfering with that right. So instead of recognizing the union, VU decided to close and get rid of everybody without paying them their final paycheck even. So what we were able to do was that company, VU, has a parent company that's based in Detroit. So we were able to organize people in the United States in Detroit to picket in front of that parent company. So, and then because we have connections in our own Department of Labor in the United States, we could pressure them to do more. And then in Mexico, the Mexicans could do more to pressure their own Department of Labor, which has been pretty weak. So yeah, so just to say that because this community is on both sides of the border, and every one of us that lives in the United States, we benefit from migrant labor. We eat the food that is produced, et cetera. We rely a lot on healthcare workers, et cetera. So it just shows, and this is why I'm so dedicated to the Mexico Solidarity Project. We have to work together where we can, but we also have to work on each side of the border. But we need to know what each other's doing so that we can coordinate it and have more strength. So as they say, with one, we're weak, but united, we're strong. So with that, I'm just really happy with what you're doing. I'm really happy to know you, Maria Elena, and your organization. And let's just be in more solidarity than ever in 2026 because we're going to need it.
yes, we're gonna need it. I'm committing myself to be every month on your meetings as well. I'm like, I need to pay attention for that because we do. We need to be more united. There's so many things that we were not able to do last year. But we're still committed to do it. We're still committed to keep working on, regardless of what we have to face. Um, I guess as a people, as a pueblo, as we say it in Spanish, we're more stronger than we know and that we think. So
Mhm.
yes, saying that together we can do this, yes, we can.
Yes, we can, right? It's not about the governments, it's about the people. If the people of both countries are united, there's just so much we can do. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes.
So thank
And
you
I
for
just want to say thank you.
adelante.
Thank you very much for supporting, the Spanish community.
Oh, no, not at all. It's so important. It's just one of the most important things we can do because I think Mexico is the front line of defense against US imperialism all throughout Latin America and maybe the world. So, yeah, Mexico is really a key player in world politics right now.
So I thank you so much. I extend the invitation for when you have availability. I would like to know more. I mean, I was so intricate when you start talking about your own challenges and how the community needs to endure. I mean, it went through and still goes because it has so much in common with Mexico that if you wish to share probably more or more stories that we can learn from, I mean, that would be awesome. But at the same time, you're welcome anytime. The fight is still going, and this is an open house and an open door for you whenever you wish to come. You're welcome here.
I thank you so much, and thank you both for the work you do for peace and justice.
Amen.
And
Okay. Thank you.
thank you, Patricia. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Too. Thank you, Luz, for inviting me. I
Gracias,
appreciate.
gracias, Patricia. A ver, aquí tenemos un comentario. Déjate pongo para que te puedan escuchar.
Sí.
A ver, dale, David.
Lo tengo, se los puedo enseñar. Fue un caso muy sencillo, o sea, no se puede ni alegar. No sé, ¿ya lo vieron ustedes?
No lo he visto, pero si me lo puedes mandar estaría bien.
Sí, no lo hemos visto.
O si lo puedes enseñar,
Yeah.
te pongo en grande.
Okay.
Vamos a ver el video. Dices que es del cuerpo, del body cam.
When you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen forward. La esposa. ¿The matters? I think we'll
Ajá.
discuss the one point. Go ahead. Out the door. Get out of the door.
Pero ¿por qué le están pidiendo que se salga?
Pegó al oficial.
Pero fue después de que le disparó, ¿no?
No, el momento que mira que el carro le acerca es el momento que disparó.
O sea, cuando trató de abrir,
hasta se escucha el golpe que le dio el oficial.
cuando él trata de abrir la puerta, ¿es cuando pasó eso?
Cuando el oficial trata de llegar para abrir su puerta es cuando ella se dio de reversa y el oficial como que no se dio cuenta y ella se mira en la cámara, pues obvio, de que el carro viene directamente hacia él. Y mucha gente estaba diciendo, oh, ¿por qué no miró las llantas? Pues no se puede ver las llantas, él está parado, las llantas están abajo. Él
Pero,
nomás está viendo lo de enfrente del carro.
pero y después, entonces, ¿cómo explicamos que él estaba caminando muy bien?
¿De qué? Well, yeah, I mean, tienen que entender, cuando estás en una situación donde la adrenalina está alta, obviamente no lo vas a resentir hasta quizás en unas horas. Pero este oficial, más aparte, unos meses antes, este oficial no sé cómo se dice, dragged por otro carro. Otra persona que estaba protestando también lo arrastró en el carro y esa pierna tenía muchos puntadas de que, I don't know, no sé cómo se dice, stitches, he received a lot of stitches.
Pero,
Ya lo habían lastimado.
Ok, David, supón tú, pues, ¿verdad? No estoy diciendo sí, no estoy diciendo no. A mí no me queda muy claro en ese video, pero
Ah.
Entonces, la gente no aprendió que no debía ponerse ahí o qué pedo.
No, la gente estaba de ese lado del carro porque estaba la esposa de esta otra mujer que lo estaba ah, incitando, ¿cómo se dice? Inciting, I don't know, no sé
Sí,
cómo se dice, pero
incitando.
estaba, y él se va hacia el lado del carro y iba en dirección donde estaba su otro agente, porque había circulado el carro de ella, porque le quiso tomar las placas, estaba asegurándose, observando el carro, si es que no había más gente
¿Y,
adentro.
y a qué estaba,
Entonces, el momento,
a qué estaba incitando la mujer? Porque yo no vi eso, pero bueno, a ver.
sí, en ese video se mira que y ya tenía rato siguiéndolos. ¿Por qué creen que ella estaba fuera del carro? Porque ella lo estaban haciendo adrede, estaban tratando de buscar conflicto con ellos, pues. So,
Yo no lo noté, tú sí, nos puedes
¿Cómo lo
poner el
sabes?
video de nuevo.
¿Cómo lo sabes?
por el video.
Por el
Los
video.
videos que han salido en el video.
No, lo que enseñaste aquí ni se escucha lo que está diciendo.
¿No se
que le está
escucha?
incitando. No, y lo cortas.
¿Quieres que lo ponga otra vez?
No, quiero que pongas todo completo cuando él la balació. Para
Ya
que
lo
nosotros
puse.
veamos. No, lo cortaste.
Yo no lo
No
corté,
se dio
señora. Todo el video
Bueno,
está completo.
lo que nos
Es
enseñaste
que,
es
es
un
que
pedazo.
exactamente,
No se
hasta que
preocupe,
no,
se lo pongo otra vez.
mira,
¿Lista?
por eso yo,
No nos enseñaste cuando él se levantó y se fue caminando.
Oh, no,
¿Por qué
no,
no enseñaste eso?
cuando él se levantó.
Porque no te lo enseñaron. Sí, cuando
¿Qué
cuando
tiene
lo
que ver
ves, se
eso?
fue
¿Qué no miró
caminando,
cuando ella
después
lo
de-
está atropellando?
cuando se fue caminando bien como si nada le hubiera pasado.
Como si.
Eh, sí, todos lo
Es que,
vimos.
señora,
Él se
esas no
va
son
caminando
películas, ¿eh?
después de dispararle, él se va caminando como que nada le pasó.
Eso es lo que
Se-
digo.
exactamente,
se veía en su
exactamente,
cámara.
y por
¿Eso qué
por
tiene que
eso
ver?
están
Todo.
pidiendo una
Tiene que ver porque,
investigación.
porque tiene que ver porque no terminó lastimado.
Observe, mire.
O sea,
Eso ya lo vi. Quiero que me
Ah,
pongas
ok.
de cuando él se va caminando.
Se miran
Quiero
muy
que me pongas quiero que
buenas
pongas cuando él se va
personas.
caminando. Quiero que pongas cuando él se va caminando. ¿Y sabes
Tiene
qué?
que ver cuando él se
Quiero
va
que
caminando.
para que veamos todos que él
Sí,
iba
vamos
bien.
a ver. No,
Y te voy a decir en la Casa Blanca hay
No
peores
le iba a
personas y
atropellar.
nadie les dispara, ¿eh?
no le iba a atropellar. No,
No, no le iba a atropellar.
No,
Oh, shit.
No,
Boom.
no, yo lo veo bien. Mira,
¿cómo no
no se
van a
ve que se
estar
cayó, no se ve que
ocultando?
se va
Mira,
levantando del suelo.
pero ahí
Señora,
no
déjame
se
decir
ve
una
que le
cosa.
pegó,
nomás se escucha el golpe, ¿verdad?
¿no?
No, no escucho nada.
No, pues no, es que usted está ciega, usted no,
No, es que mira, déjame le
No,
contesto a este
no,
muchacho.
tú eres un adoctrinado que
porque los
justifica los
ICE son
asesinatos.
malos.
No,
Los ICE
son
malos.
asesinos. Este hombre
Sí,
es un
son
asesino.
asesinos, sí.
Es un asesino.
Pues sí son.
Afortunadamente tenemos video y toda la gente va a pensar que usted está loca.
Sí.
No,
mientras que todos los
tampoco,
demás vamos a decir,
tampoco me
todavía
No,
insultes a,
mira,
tampoco me
me
insultes
dejan decir algo, me dejan decir
"Ese
algo.
que agarró".
tampoco me insultes a
Por
Mar,
eso
tampoco.
hay que investigar y bien las cosas. ¿Por qué Trump no quiere que haya una investigación? O sea, ahí mismo se están ustedes contradiciendo. Si fueran las cosas así bien, que digas, ay, todo es derecho, pues hay que hacerlo a la vida por lo derecho. Pero ¿por qué están obstruyendo la investigación? O sea, porque bien saben que no fue cierto lo que ustedes quieren proponer o decir Trump y
Bueno, ahí
y
está el
su
video.
gente.
No sé
Esa
qué
es
tanto
la
más
verdad.
quiere.
Pero no lo tienes completo.
Porque llegue el día en que tú también seas víctima, porque aquí a todos nos va a pasar. Solo
No
espero.
va a pasar. Si no,
Claro que
si no
sí,
trato de atropellar a un
claro que
agente
sí.
federal, no me va a pasar.
No, aunque estés
No,
pegado, porque el
no,
régimen,
porque a mí
los
me gusta
regímenes,
obedecer la ley.
porque eres un estúpido.
Sí, porque quiero obedecer la ley, soy un estúpido. Sí, por eso usted está como está. Piensa como una persona tonta.
No me insultes a Mar, no me insultes a Mar.
No, es que no tiene lógica. Es lo que
Ok,
eso es lo que le digo.
puedes pensar, David, puedes pensar que no tenemos lógica, pero
No, yo no dije
tampoco.
usted. Usted no está hablando de usted, está hablando nomás de ella.
Ok,
Porque
sí,
le estoy
pero
enseñando un video
no, sí, a ver,
y aún así no lo veo.
porque tenemos discrepancias. Mira, el video no está completo, eso hay que admitirlo. ¿verdad?
Pero ¿qué más
Tú
ocupa
dices,
para asegurar de que esta señora
ocupo el
quiso
video
atropellar al
completo.
oficial? ¿Qué otro video ocupa?
Ocupo el video completo porque mira, hay muchas cosas ahí. Yo, por ejemplo,
Ajá,
veo
a ver, dígame.
que él, desde otro video, no en este, en otro video, en otro ángulo, él se
Ajá.
ve cómo no le pasa ninguna llanta por ningún lado. ¿Has visto
Exactamente,
esos
y él
videos?
sale caminando normalmente, o sea,
No,
¿Qué digo de la
hasta en la
llanta?
tele
¿no has
todos
visto?
lo vimos, señor,
¿No has visto
joven
esos
o lo
videos?
que sea usted, todos
Espera,
lo vimos,
él
todos
está en un
sabemos,
ángulo donde
está en
no puede
todas
ver
las
ninguna
noticias,
llanta. Él nomás está viendo que esta
están en
señora
todas las
está
noticias.
reversiando, viniendo hacia él, que hasta el punto que le pega.
Fíjate, yo como lo
Mira.
veo, adelante, mamá.
Mira, y no me interrumpas, por favor, te voy a decir algo. Cuando tú enseñas de que se ve la cámara del hombre, el hombre no se ve. Yo supongo que si la trae en el pecho y lo tumbaron, como tú dices, la cámara se vería hacia el cielo.
Yo
El
nunca
hombre,
dije que lo tumbaron.
bueno, que lo golpearon, no se ve así
¿Y no
como.
escucha el golpe? ¿Crees que el golpe fue de mentiras?
Dije que no me interrumpieras.
Pues
O
es
sea,
que diga la verdad.
eres un pelado, ni siquiera puedes darle la razón, como respetar el turno de las personas, porque así están acostumbrados ustedes a ser autoritarios, les
Ok, pues,
gusta.
ándale, pues termine de decir.
Exactamente,
Ok.
falta de
No se ve un
respeto, no
impacto,
tienes
no se ve un
educación.
impacto, no se ve la cámara que se hace para frente, para atrás, que le pasó nada. No es cierto. Y te cortaron el video donde se ve lo que realmente le pasó. Te cortaron el video. Espérate, realmente no se ve cuando el hombre se levanta y se va caminando como si nada, porque todos lo vimos en el primer video.
Oh, ok, entonces usted quería que él se cayera, le aplastara la pierna, gritara para decir, ok, sí está bien.
Para justificar un asesinato a sangre fría con 3 balazos en la cara, sí.
Ok, entonces ustedes son de las que piensa como en las películas, que tienen que, pum, pum, te pegas y te caes, entonces respondes.
Entonces, ¿sabes qué? Entonces, ¿sabes? Con un asesinato, esto es prevención.
Fíjate la mentalidad de este individuo, así te voy a decir,
No, pues
individuo.
wow, o sea, ahora, con un asesinato, ellos previnieron. Y esto sin hablar, los 2 asesinatos de ayer.
El asesinato pasó porque ella fue una pendeja,
Fíjate la mentalidad de este
por lo menos,
individuo,
aunque
pero
insultas a la persona que ya está muerta, que bueno, por lo menos que aceptas que sí fue un asesinato a sangre fría.
No fue un asesinato, fue una defensa propia.
Tú lo acabas de decir, fue un asesinato, tú lo dijiste porque tú lo sabes, aunque andes ahí por ahí. ¿Sabes qué es lo más triste de ustedes? Que ni siquiera reciben nada por andar defendiendo. Lo único que van a recibir es que eventualmente también van a ser víctimas de la misma injusticia. Porque esto va a crecer. Esto va a crecer. Al siguiente día.
Yo sé, porque ustedes están locos. Ustedes
no,
señor, ustedes,
tienen un
fíjate,
chip
es
que
triste.
su partido les dice, hagan esto y ustedes lo van a hacer como robots.
Ay, mira, aquí ni partido tenemos, no somos como.
Sure.
Este individuo, ahora déjame de que le conteste a este individuo. Este individuo, mira, tú como te llames,
La señora estaba
señor.
haciendo. Hay otro video en otro ángulo donde se ve que sí ella atropella.
Oye, ya te voy a preguntar, ¿por qué tienes que mencionar si la mujer es la preferencia sexual de la mujer? ¿Qué tiene que ver con esto? Desde ahí se ve la clase de gentuza que son ustedes, intolerantes, irrespetuosos. Eso es lo que son.
Yo estoy hablando.
No te voy gente como tú no tiene respetabilidad.
Ella tiene una esposa mujer, por eso estoy diciendo, no dije hombre porque era una mujer.
Gente como tú no tiene respetabilidad.
Un hombre porque era una esposa mujer.
¿Qué tiene de malo eso, señor? ¿Qué tiene de malo eso? Por eso están ustedes, por eso ahora, de veras.
Aquí no tiene nada que ver su preferencia sexual, porque ustedes quieren satanizarla de cualquier manera, porque así son ustedes. No sé, entonces, ¿para qué lo mencionaste? ¿Para qué lo mencionaste?
¿Estás por TikTok
Dime para
o
qué lo
por YouTube?
mencionaste. ¿Para qué lo mencionaste? ¿Para qué lo mencionaste? Yo no me ofendo, yo te estoy haciendo una pregunta, ¿para qué lo mencionaste? ¿Y eso qué tiene que ver? 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 ¿Vas a contestar?
Señora, ya tenía.
Hola Manuel, bienvenido, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, oye, ¿estás en TikTok? Nomás quiero hacerte
Sí,
una pregunta,
sí,
¿sí?
¿quieres,
Me
quieres que
voy
nos
a
vayamos?
TikTok,
Sí, vente
¿sí?
acá a pelear.
Gracias, gracias. Me voy a ir a TikTok. Bye.
Manuel, ¿cómo estás? Ya encontraste cuando estamos peleando. Les bajé el... Manuel, hello, ya puedes hablar o no. Los muteé para que no
Sí,
nos...
perdón, ahora sí.
Los muteé para... Va llegando, pero se nos acaba de ir Mishu.
Ay, perdón.
Oye, y se subió la gente en TikTok a pelear.
Ah, Chihuahua. Ay, híjole, pobre Michu, a ver si no se espantó.
No, a Mishu no, tuvimos una conversación súper padre. Nos recordó un poco de su historia y cómo la ve paralela con la historia de México.
Ajá,
Sí. No, para Mishu no, ¿cómo crees tú que a un invitado yo traigo de que no, yo trato de que no venga nadie a argumentar aquí ni nada, por supuesto que no.
sí, no, aparte ella es buena, aparte ella es muy buena, es muy
Sí.
solidaria y es aliada, entonces hay que cuidarlos.
Sí, no. Nada más nosotros sí lo transmití por TikTok para que la gente escuche, pero no. Subí dos personas, pero no precisamente les di la voz, le dije si tienen preguntas, digan y nosotros se las hacemos ahí.
Claro,
Y así fue como lo manejé.
claro, está bien, entonces, está bien.
Sí, no, y le leí algunos comentarios, pero no es como que le iba a dejar el no, ¿cómo crees? Nunca sé qué van a
La
decir,
po-
no me quise
ma-
arriesgar a abrir el micrófono para ellos. Oye, nunca se sabe.
Claro. Entonces ya ahorita terminaste, ¿verdad? Ya.
Sí, la acabamos de despedir, solamente que
Ok.
te vengas a TikTok si quieres y
Carl?
te...
¿Llegó Carl? No.
No, Carl no me contestó, yo creo que no vio mi mensaje.
Claro, sí, yo sí lo vi, pero después del trabajo me tuve que ir me reuní aquí con una persona del grupo y ya no me pude zafar nada, traía un problema ahí, pues ya ni modo, ¿no? Entonces,
No,
ya
pero
no
igual le dije que utilicé nuestro logo. Ah, pues mira,
claro,
todavía aquí está de la ruta invisible. Este, eh, ahí lo voy a bajar para subir la conversación. Está en YouTube. Estuvo buena.
órale. Sí, la
Y
voy a
le,
escuchar,
y
la
le
voy a
dije,
escuchar.
solamente que como ella tiene 5 horas menos que nosotros, por eso es que no, pues no puede a la hora que nosotros, imagínate, nosotros iniciamos a las 8:30, pues ellas son las 4 de la mañana, no, las 3 de la mañana allá, las 3:30.
Sí, es casi hora de Asia, ¿no?
Sí, son 5 horas,
Wow,
5 horas atrás. Entonces por eso ella dijo, porque allá son mañanas para ella y aquí la 1 de la tarde.
claro.
Sí,
A
son
ella
las
le llega
9
primero
para
la
ella.
información. A ella le llega siempre primero la información de todo.
Ah, no, son las 8 de la mañana para ella.
Sí, por eso te digo que a ella le llega primero la información de todo.
Le dije que la invitamos cuando guste, ¿verdad? Para tener una buena conversación. Y la invitación quedó dada.
Qué bueno.
So, así está. Todavía estamos transmitiendo eso en YouTube, te están viendo todo lo que te estoy
Ouch,
contando aquí.
Jesus Christ, perdón. YouTube. Bueno, está
No
bien.
hay nada que perdonar, pues es parte de, am, sí, porque eso, nada más que acá se puso el pleito fuerte acá en TikTok y por eso mejor los muteé para poderte
¿Por
decir.
qué se estaba peleando?
No,
¿O
pues
por qué se estaban peleando?
estamos hablando sobre pues sobre esta muchacha Renee,
O
de
sí, cómo no,
que la
la
mataron
asesinaron, la que
en
mataron.
Portland, sí. No, no en
Claro,
Portland, perdón, en Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Entonces subió un maga y dijo que nos mostró un video del el body cam y donde se ve, pues está la gente y se ve como así que lo golpea, pero le dije a él, pues es que nosotros hemos visto videos de otro lado y se ve bien claro. O sea, tú puedes hacer como oficial que tu cámara, que se ve porque la traes en tu cuerpo, o sea, ya con el hecho que te hagas así. O sea, el solo hecho que te medio recargues o algo, tú puedes justificar o puedes hacer tus trucos para que se vea que te machucó. Pero si el tipo salió caminando, estaba muy tranquilo, por mucha adrenalina que tengas, se va a notar que te atropelló.
Claro. Lo que él decía era que la gente le había pegado
Que no, lo que él decía que la muchacha que iba manejando Renee sí había atropellado a la gente.
a la gente o a
Al
los policías.
agente, al
A la,
agente, al
a la
agente
gente.
del hielo.
Bueno, en el video y todos los videos que yo he visto no se ve.
Pues que yo he visto muchos videos por muchos enfoques, pero él dice ya publicaron el video del que trae en su cuerpo el agente del hielo. Eso ya lo sacaron público y ahí se ve cuando la esposa está hablando y todo, y se ve cuando sale la muchacha. Y entonces después, dura bien poquitito, segundos yo creo, y después se ve algo así como si golpeó algo. Pero él lo pudo hacer porque si te fijas, bueno, si los has visto, hay videos de otro ángulo donde se ve la gente y se ve hasta como que le hace así como que te detienes ahí. Entonces,
Claro,
eso en tu cámara corporal, por supuesto, se va a ver como que hubo un impacto.
claro. Pero no estaba enfrente del carro y ella
No.
trató. No, estaba de
Yo,
lado.
yo como vi fue que hizo así, fíjate, mi percepción es que ella se quería salir para irse, pero es que ella es ciudadana y eso es el problema que estoy viendo que quieren, normalizar todo y es que no, no se puede normalizar. O sea, yo no le digo a alguien que lo hagas, pero no puedes normalizar esta salvajada. No puedes normalizar que el policía por los puros que a él se le antoja, puedas, hacer lo que te dé la gana y tú, porque yo quiero, yo ven aquí. Oye, ICE
Y
no
porque
tiene
la
autoridad
adrenalina se
sobre
me
los
subió y
ciudadanos
no me puedo
americanos.
controlar, disparo. Entonces,
Exacto.
si te saco la lengua y se te sube la adrenalina, pues ya me amolé porque te saqué la lengua y ya con eso es suficiente para que me mates, ¿no? Y tengo que aceptar que te
Que fue
sentiste
mi
agredido.
culpa, imagínate.
No,
No.
está mal. Pero ¿sabes qué? Me parece que yo vi muchos, aquí hay dos cosas muy interesantes. Primero, es la primera vez que yo siento y veo al americano ya totalmente, las entrevistas que yo escuché, ya los noté totalmente desesperados, angustiados, hasta la madre de esta situación, o sea, ya asqueados, así, de
Sí,
vomitar, de todo lo que está pasando y la salvajada que está haciendo inmigración, ya como ciudadanos o como americanos, ya no toleran ya esta situación, ¿no?
es
Obviamente, es una cosa.
demasiado un año y han ido escalando, con mayor agresividad.
Claro. Entonces yo ya siento desesperación de parte de ellos, cosa que es buena porque ya hay un hastío y eso es bueno, pues.
Ujú. No, pues
Ay,
salieron ahí a protestar y eso es bueno. Es preocupante, yo para mí lo sigo viendo preocupante lo que está pasando. Pero bueno, te lo pongo para que escuches mientras lo que están diciendo.
Alternativa. Ah, sí, la mujer no estaba armada.
La mujer no estaba armada y él no estaba delante del carro, estaba al costado. Todos dicen, no, él estaba delante del carro y le tiró el carro encima. Mentira, mentira, pero cualquier republicano que tú hables con él te va a decir que el policía estaba en peligro y que bien hecho lo que hizo. Porque ya sabes cómo piensan los republicanos.
Y bueno, entonces hasta aquí nos quedamos. Gracias por acompañarnos. Esto fue La Ruta Invisible con nuestra invitada Mishu Liu. Mishu Lui, gracias por haber estado aquí. Gracias a Ana Patricia también que nos acompañó. Gracias a ustedes. Por favor, suscríbanse al canal y comenten, los leemos. Hasta la próxima. Ah, no, 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 hasta mañana, mañana, 3 de la tarde, tiempo del este, con Raíces y Almas Desplazadas. Hasta la próxima.